Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are really taking a fascinating look back, stacking up some of the most enduring ideas about achievement and, well, success from the last couple of centuries.
Yeah, we're talking about a pretty wide range. You've got Stoics like Seneca, then you move into that classic American self-help vein, Russell Conwell, Earl Nightingale.
Right, and then bringing it more current with figures like Stephen Covey, Tony Robbins. It's quite the lineup.
It really is. And what's striking, I think, is when you put all these voices together, these, seemingly different philosophies,
What emerges?
a surprisingly consistent blueprint. A blueprint for success that hinges almost entirely on, well, character, integrity, and this idea of service.
It's almost like that classic Ziglar idea, isn't it? You can have everything in life you want.
If you will just help enough other people get what they want.
Exactly.
That seems to be the thread running through so much of this. It's not about tricks or hacks.
So our mission today is really to distill those core principles. We want to get past the surface level, quick fix stuff you see everywhere.
And find that bedrock. What really makes success sustainable? What does it look like when it's built on that solid inner core?
Okay, so where do we start? It seems like the foundation isn't technique, it's something else.
It seems to be determination, that inner drive. And actually, our sources kick off with a pretty intense quote from Knute Rockne, the legendary football coach.
Oh yeah, the famous one. Show me a good loser.
And I'll show you a loser.
It's harsh, isn't it?
It really is. It kind of stops you in your tracks.
Yeah.
It forces you to think about, well, the difference between just showing up and having that genuine will to win.
Right. According to this line of thinking, the goal isn't participation points. It's cultivating that desire, that determination to actually, succeed, to strive for the win.
But, okay, how do you sustain that kind of intensity, that drive, without just burning out completely? That's where the practical application comes in.
Yeah.
Something echoed by a lot of these thinkers, definitely in the Ziglar tradition too. It's about setting short-range goals.
Ah, breaking it down.
Exactly. You structure things, you get little wins, little successes, almost every single day. It feeds itself.
Like a positive feedback loop. Success breeds more success. Those small daily wins, they're the steps you need to take to eventually reach those huge long-term goals.
You can't just, decide to climb Everest tomorrow. But you can train today.
Yeah.
You can conquer that first foothill.
Okay, but here's the pivot, right? Back to the core theme. How does this drive connect with character?
This is critical. The material emphasizes that how you win says a lot about your character. Okay, fine. But how you lose.
Right.
That reveals everything. The integrity, the composure you maintain when things don't go your way. That's the real test.
It puts it in perspective. The trophy might be temporary, right? But the person you become chasing it or dealing with not getting it, that's permanent.
So what are we really aiming for? The win itself or the character development that the pursuit demands?
It suggests the focus should be on consistency, on integrity, whatever the scoreboard says at the end of the day.
And that's the common ground, isn't it? Across all these different thinkers, spanning decades, it suggests these aren't just fads or techniques. They're maybe correct principles, as Covey might say.
Okay, let's unpack that. This idea of core character. Because this feels like the real dividing line between, say, fleeting success and something truly lasting. Covey's distinction here is powerful.
You mean primary versus secondary greatness?
Exactly. Explain that for us.
Well, primary greatness, that's the deep stuff. It's your character, your fundamental integrity, who you are when nobody's looking. It's the engine, the foundation.
And secondary greatness.
That's the shiny exterior, your personality, your social skills, your reputation, the awards, the title, things people see easily.
And I think, a lot of focus today is purely on that secondary stuff. People want the charisma hacks, the networking tricks.
Right. They think technique alone will get them there.
Oh.
But the argument here is that building only on secondary greatness without the primary foundation, it's fundamentally unstable. It's manipulative even.
Like painting over rust, you said earlier. Looks good for a bit.
But the structure's weak underneath. Eventually, especially in relationships, that lack of real integrity, that duplicity,
Yeah.
it creates distrust.
Yeah.
And the whole thing just falls apart.
So it's the difference between acting like you're trustworthy and actually being trustworthy, fundamentally.
Covey nails this with his analogy of the law of the harvest.
Ah, yes. Tell us about that.
Well, you can't cram for a harvest, right? You can't decide in October that you want potatoes and just wish them into existence. You have to plant the seeds in the spring, cultivate them, water them.
Follow the natural process.
Exactly. And he says it's the same with character, with relationships, with real skills. Trying to use personality tricks or quick fixes to shortcut genuine development. It's like cramming for an exam.
You might pass the test, maybe get that quick promotion.
But you haven't achieved mastery. You haven't built anything real. In the things that matter most, trust, skill, relationships, there are simply no shortcuts. You have to do the work. So the seeds first.
Okay, so if real success, the kind built on character, can't be rushed, can't be crammed, then what should we be focused on? What's the actual target?
This is where Viktor Frankl comes in. And his perspective is just profound. Based on his own horrific experiences, he argued that you cannot pursue success directly.
You can't chase it.
No. He said if you chase success, it will actually elude you. It has to happen as a side effect, an unintended consequence.
A side effect of what?
Of dedicating yourself to a purpose greater than yourself. Or, as he also put it, as a consequence of dedicating yourself to another person. The focus shifts completely. It's not about what do I get, it's about who do I become in service of this bigger thing.
Shifting from self-enrichment to self-transcendence, that's a huge leap. So if that's the goal, how do you build that sense of inner worthiness needed for that kind of dedication?
Well, more recently, Brené Brown's work touches on this. She talks about resilience and the wholehearted people who fundamentally believe they are worthy of love, belonging, and success. And often, she finds, that sense of worthiness starts very early in our first families.
But what if you didn't get that start? Can it be developed?
Absolutely. And that idea isn't new either. Go back centuries to Seneca, the Stoic philosopher. He was adamant that a happy life, or even just a bearable one, requires the study of wisdom, practical philosophy.
And when Seneca says philosophy, he doesn't mean dusty books and abstract debates.
Not at all.
Right.
For him, it was intensely practical. He said philosophy molds the soul, it orders your life, it guides your actions, it's the rudder when you're sailing through uncertainty.
Molds the soul. What does that actually mean in practice? For someone listening right now, how do you mold your soul today?
It means doing intentional internal work. Specifically for the Stoics, it meant mastering your judgments, your reactions to things, distinguishing between what's truly harmful and what's just uncomfortable.
How?
Through practice, daily practice. Things like voluntary hardship, maybe taking cold showers, or deliberately eating very simply for a week, or reflecting on worst-case scenarios.
That sounds unpleasant.
It's not about punishment. It's training your mind to see that you can endure more than you think, that most fears are exaggerated, that your inner peace doesn't have to depend on external comfort. That builds resilience, that quiet inner confidence. That's primary greatness in action.
Okay, so wisdom is the operating system, integrity is the code. We've built the internal foundation. Now, how do we actually do anything with it? How do we direct that character towards something specific?
Right. This is where the inner world meets outer action. If character is the why and the who, then clarity is the what and where.
And this brings us squarely into goal-setting territory. Tony Robbins is really clear on this, isn't he?
Absolutely. His first step in what he calls the ultimate success formula is non-negotiable. Know your outcome. You have to have clearly defined goals, thoughtfully chosen.
If you don't know the destination, the best map in the world is useless.
Precisely. And Earl Nightingale observed something similar. He said that truly creative, successful people don't just drift. They don't waste time aimlessly. Why? Because they know where they're going.
Every action has context. Every hour has purpose because it's moving towards that known target. Otherwise, you're just busy, not productive.
Exactly. Busy doing what, building what. If it's not directed toward a goal, it's just activity.
Yeah.
Noise.
Building on that clarity, Covey gives us probably the most impactful, maybe even jarring exercise in this whole collection. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind.
The funeral exercise.
Yeah. He literally asks you to imagine your own funeral today, right now.
It's designed to be intense. You visualize the service, who's there, and crucially, what people are saying about you. He suggests imagining 4 speakers. Someone from your family, a friend, a work colleague, and someone from your community.
What would you want them to say about your character, your contributions, your relationships?
The power of it is that it instantly clarifies your deepest values. It pulls your long-term definition of a life well lived right into your present-day choices.
So if your daily grind is all about, say, climbing the corporate ladder at any cost, but you want your eulogy to mention your integrity and mentorship, there's a serious disconnect.
A huge disconnect. And that leads directly to what Covey calls the activity trap.
Which is?
It's working harder and harder, getting more and more efficient, climbing that ladder of success faster and faster, only to realize when you get to the top.
That the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall the whole time.
Exactly. All that effort, all that efficiency wasted because you were heading in the wrong direction. You were busy, but not effective toward your ultimate end in mind.
Wow. Okay, so having that end in mind, that clear goal is crucial. But then you need to manage the engine that gets you there, your mind. Nightingale talks about this, right?
He calls the mind this incredible, inexhaustible storehouse. It can give you pretty much anything you earnestly desire, but you have to feed it. You have to keep learning, augmenting it with information.
But not just feeding it, also controlling it.
Rigorously controlling it. This leads to his famous challenge, the 30-day test of control.
Okay, what's the test?
It's a direct challenge. For 30 days straight, you actively monitor your thoughts. You consciously decide to think only about your positive, worthwhile goals. The instant, and he means the instant, a negative thought, a fear, a doubt creeps in.
You have to do what?
You immediately replace it. You consciously substitute it with a mental image of your desired outcome, your positive goal.
30 days of that level of mental policing sounds incredibly difficult. Exhausting, even.
It probably is. But Nightingale's premise is profound. If you can master your thoughts for just 1 month, you can fundamentally shift your focus, your attitude, and ultimately your results. You essentially reprogram your habitual way of thinking.
And Covey has a related challenge, doesn't he? Focused more on action.
Yes, a parallel 30-day challenge focused on proactivity. For 1 month, you make a conscious commitment to work only within your circle of influence.
Explain that circle of influence versus
Versus the circle of concern. Your circle of concern is huge. It's everything you worry about. The economy, politics, the weather, other people's choices, their flaws, things you ultimately can't control.
Okay. And the circle of influence.
That's much smaller. It's the things you can directly affect. Your own choices, your attitude, your skills, how you treat people, the quality of your work, keeping your promises.
So the challenge is to spend 30 days focusing only on that smaller circle. Stop complaining about the stuff you can't control.
Exactly. Be a model, not a critic. Be part of the solution, not the problem. If you find yourself blaming external factors, recognize that the real problem is your choice to focus there. Shift back to what you can do.
What happens if you mess up during those 30 days? If you slip back into complaining or worrying?
Covey says you simply acknowledge it, correct it immediately if possible, and learn from it. It's about building the habit of taking responsibility. Keeping small commitments to yourself and others builds that inner integrity, that self-control. It creates real momentum.
Okay, so we have the clear goal, the disciplined mind, the proactive focus. What's next in terms of actually making things happen?
Action. Goals and plans are useless without it. This is where Robbins completes his formula. After know your outcome, the next steps are crucial.
Which are?
First, take action. You have to do something. Second, use your sensory acuity. That just means pay close attention. Notice what results your actions are actually producing. Are you getting closer to your goal or further away?
Okay, action, then pay attention. What's the last piece?
Flexibility. If what you're doing isn't working, change your approach. Don't just keep banging your head against the same wall. Adjust, adapt, try something different until you get the outcome you want.
It's like a feedback loop. Act, observe, adjust. Act, observe, adjust.
Precisely. Like a scientist running experiments. And Robbins adds a critical condition. Your goals need to be ecologically sound.
Meaning?
Meaning they should be good for you and good for others and good for the greater system. They shouldn't create negative consequences elsewhere. Which brings us back again to that idea of service and purpose beyond just yourself.
And there's one more piece to this disciplined mindset, isn't there? Something about physiology.
Right. Robbins strongly emphasizes the mind-body connection. He argues you can instantly change your emotional state, your feelings of confidence, energy, power, just by changing your physical posture or your breathing.
The power pose idea.
That's part of it. Stand tall, breathe deeply, move purposefully, and your internal state shifts. It gives you the physical and emotional resources you need to actually take that action and maintain that discipline. It's not just mental, it's physiological.
Okay, so we've built this picture of a disciplined, purposeful individual. Now let's connect this to the bigger picture. Ambition, wealth, these are often seen negatively. How do our sources handle that?
It's fascinating, actually. They offer a really robust, character-driven perspective on wealth. especially Russell Conwell, writing back in the late 19th, early 20th century.
He's famous for Acres of Diamonds, but he had some pretty bold claims about wealth and honesty.
He did. He stated, based on his analysis at the time, something that sounds almost shocking today. 98 out of 100 of the rich men of America are honest. That is why they are rich. That is why they are trusted with money.
98%. Wow. That feels wildly optimistic from our current viewpoint, doesn't it? What was his reasoning?
His context was the industrial expansion of his era. He argued that building and managing large enterprises, handling vast sums of capital, required enormous trust. Banks, partners, the public, they wouldn't entrust millions to someone known to be dishonest or unreliable.
So for him, honesty wasn't just a moral virtue, it was almost an operational requirement for reaching the top levels of business back then. You couldn't scale without it.
That seems to be his argument. If you were fundamentally untrustworthy, you'd be filtered out before you got control of major resources. Now, whether that holds true today is a whole other debate, but that was his defense.
And he wasn't shy about encouraging ambition for wealth, was he?
Not at all. He saw money as power, specifically power to do good. He'd tell his audiences, it's money that prints the Bibles, builds the hospitals, funds the missions. He argued the motivation for seeking wealth should be the desire to contribute more, to do more good in the world.
That connects directly to Nightingale's core principle, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Nightingale lays out the law of mutual exchange. He insists that prosperity isn't about taking, it's about giving. Your returns in life, financial or otherwise, will be in direct proportion to the value of the service you provide to others.
It flips the script. It's not how much can I get, but how much can I give?
Exactly. You have to provide value first. Nightingale used the analogy of a stove. You can't expect heat until you put the fuel in. You must serve first, contribute value first, before you can expect a return.
And money, in this view, is just what? A measuring stick.
Just a yardstick. It measures the quality and quantity of the service you've rendered. His conclusion is incredibly strong. No man can get rich himself unless he enriches others. There are no exceptions to a law.
Enrich others first. That's the core of the Ziglar philosophy too, right? Help enough people get what they want.
It seems to be a universal principle among these particular thinkers. Serve first, contribute first, and the rewards will follow as a natural consequence.
But Conwell adds another layer here, something about inheriting wealth versus earning it.
Yes, a really powerful point about discipline over dollars. He argued passionately that inheriting a fortune without having developed the character and skills to manage it through experience, well, it was actually harmful, a curse almost.
Why? Because you haven't grown into it.
Exactly. You haven't gone through the struggle, the learning, the honest toil that builds the necessary discipline and wisdom.
Yeah.
He actually expressed pity for the children of the wealthy who never got that experience.
He felt they missed out on something essential.
He said the discipline gained by a poor boy working his way up was worth more than any university education. That the rich man's son, handed everything, could never truly appreciate the best things in life because he hadn't earned them through effort and character development.
That really reinforces the primary greatness idea. The inner strength, the competence developed through struggle, is more valuable than the external wealth itself. If you get the wealth without the character, you're likely to misuse or lose it anyway.
It suggests character isn't just nice to have, it's a prerequisite for sustaining success and wealth long term.
Okay, so we have the internal character, the clear goals, the understanding of service and mutual exchange. How do we bring this all together in our daily work? How do we make it operational?
Well, rule number one, according to Conwell's most famous lecture, Acres of Diamonds, is start where you are.
The story of the farmer who sold his land to search for diamonds elsewhere.
Only for the new owner to find the massive Golconda diamond mine right there in the original farmer's garden.
Yes.
But it's often misunderstood. The deeper message isn't just don't sell your farm. It's that the opportunities for greatness, for service, for creating value your diamonds are usually right under your nose, in your current job, your community, your existing relationships.
You don't need to wait for some grand future opportunity.
No. Conwell argued greatness lies in doing great deeds with little means, accomplishing big things from where you stand right now. If you wish to be great at all, he'd say, you must begin where you are and what you are, now.
Find the diamonds in your own backyard. Look for the needs you can meet, the problems you can solve right here.
Exactly. Ground that principle of service in your immediate reality.
Okay, so you start where you are, you start serving, you start producing, but then comes the challenge of keeping it going, right? Sustainability.
And that's where Covey's concept of the PPC balance is absolutely essential.
P being production.
Getting the results, the golden eggs,
And PCB.
production capability, the ability to produce,
Yeah.
the health and well-being of the asset that produces the results, the goose that lays the golden eggs.
And the trap is focusing only on the P. Only on the golden eggs.
Overwhelmingly, yes. Because P is usually easier to measure: quarterly profits, units shipped, tasks completed. PC, maintaining the machine, training the team, nurturing the relationship, taking care of your own health, often feels like a cost or a delay.
But neglecting PC eventually destroys P.
It liquidates the asset.
Okay.
Covey uses that fantastic, memorable story of the restaurant, famous for its clam chowder.
Tell that one.
Okay, so new management comes in, hyper-focused on boosting short-term profits. P, their bright idea. Start watering down the famously rich clam chowder, just a little at first.
And profits go up.
Initially, yes. Costs went down, margin increased. The P looked great on the reports for a month or two. But what was happening to PC?
The asset itself, the quality reputation, the customer trust, the recipe was being degraded, eroded.
Exactly. Slowly, customers started noticing, this isn't as good as it used to be. Word spread. Loyalty faded. And eventually, customers stopped coming. The business collapsed. They didn't just hurt profits, they killed the goose. They liquidated the C.
And this PPC balance applies everywhere.
Everywhere that matters for long-term effectiveness. Physical assets neglect maintenance on your car or equipment, it breaks down. Financial assets drain the company for short-term gain, it becomes insolvent. And crucially, human assets.
Meaning relationships. And ourselves.
Yes. Burn out your team for short-term results, P, and your long-term capability, PC, disappears. Neglect key relationships for work, and the trust and support, PC, vanish. Neglect your own health, rest, and learning, your personal PC, to maximize output.
When you burn out, your production capability drops to zero.
So true effectiveness requires constantly balancing the two, getting the results while also investing in the ability to keep getting results.
Okay, one last piece. To make all this work with other people, we need to actually connect, to communicate effectively. How do these principles translate into interaction?
This is where understanding context and individual differences becomes key. Robbins talks a lot about meta-programs.
Meta-programs.
Yeah.
Sounds technical.
It just refers to those deep, often unconscious filters or patterns people use to process information and decide what motivates them, sort of like their internal wiring.
Can you give me an example?
A really common one is whether someone is motivated toward pleasure or away from pain.
Okay.
So a toward person gets excited by potential gains, rewards, achieving goals, positive possibilities. You motivate them by painting a picture of the wonderful future state.
And an away from person.
They're primarily motivated by avoiding problems, minimizing risk, preventing loss, escaping negative situations. You motivate them by highlighting the problems they can avoid or solve.
So trying to sell a toward vision of huge future profits to an away from person might not land.
It might fall flat or even make them anxious.
Yeah.
But if you tell that same away from person, this approach will prevent the kind of disaster we had last quarter. Their ears will poke right up.
So understanding their meta-program helps you tailor your communication. Speak their language.
Exactly. It's not about being manipulative. It's about being effective. It's about presenting the truth, your message, your goal, in a way that resonates with their internal wiring, so they can actually hear it and engage with it.
It reminds me of Aristotle, actually. He said way back that while truth is inherently strong, if you want to persuade people, especially crowds, you have to use arguments based on things shared in common. You have to meet them where they are.
It's the same principle. Understand the audience's frame of reference, their motivations, their way of processing the world, and adapt your message accordingly. That's how you translate these principles of character and service into effective leadership and influence.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground today, from that deep inner core of character, primary greatness, all the way through to practical goal setting, the law of service, and even understanding communication styles.
And the consistent message, the blueprint that emerges from stacking all these classics, is clear. Sustainable success isn't about shortcuts or tricks.
No, it seems to be this profound, ongoing process of, well, becoming. Building that internal integrity first, and then getting crystal clear on where you're going, your end in mind.
And then aligning every single day, every action, With that principle of mutual contribution serving others, the law of mutual exchange, that seems to be the engine.
And the need for constant discipline is undeniable, whether it's Covey's PPC balance, remembering to maintain the goose, or Nightingale's intense 30-day test for controlling your thoughts. It's clear this is a daily practice, not a one-time fix.
It's continuous cultivation.
So, as we wrap up, maybe we're left with a final kind of challenging synthesis. Attention, almost.
That's the tension you see.
Well, on one hand, we heard Newt Rockney, and certainly Robbins and Nightingale echo this, emphasizing that fierce, essential will to win, that relentless determination toward your goals. You need that drive.
Absolutely. That ambition fuels the whole process.
But then we have Viktor Frankl and Covey too, arguing very powerfully that success itself cannot be the primary target. It has to be secondary, a byproduct of serving a greater purpose.
Right. If you chase success directly, it remains elusive.
So here's the question for you, for the learner listening. How do you hold both? How do you maintain that intense, Rockney-level determination to achieve your clear goals, while simultaneously ensuring, as Frankl insists, that the pursuit itself, the goal-getting, remains secondary to the larger character-building purpose of contribution and service?
Can you be fiercely ambitious for a goal that you simultaneously hold loosely as secondary to your core purpose? That's the razor's edge, isn't it?
Maybe the answer is that the effort, the discipline, striving itself becomes the purpose, and the goal is just the direction, the measure. But that tension between winning and worthiness, that feels like the heart of the challenge.
Definitely something to think about. How do you reconcile that drive with that detachment?
Something for you to chew on until our next deep dive.